I've never seen a diamond in the flesh. I cut my teeth on wedding rings.
Dude, that's pretty cool.
Man,
I just
that
said
is a
clown.
sad clown.
Proud of my address.
Dude, that's pretty good.
This is The Gloom, bringing you weekly interviews with F3 Omaha packs, exploring their F3 experiences and finding those sticky elements that create the glue in the gloom. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got, mostly gentlemen, I think, listening. I don't know. I don't really, yeah, probably. This PAX or leader or man is coming to us from the Upside Down. He's coming to us. I love seeing this guy because I get to work with him regularly, and it's great when I see him in the gloom. Although that's not often enough these days because I'm not east very often. But man, recently Site Q at Futurama, and this is our man Demogorgon. Man, and Demi for short, right? Is what I hear your friends call you.
That seems to be what has sort of fallen into being the shorthand for Demogorgon. Yeah.
Yeah. I would think it'd be demo, but anyway.
I don't know, whatever people want to say.
Well, where we like to start these is just who aged you, first workout. What was it like during that first workout, and then how did we land on the name demo?
I mean, so technically, I think I have to give you the EH.
Oh, okay.
Tonight Show had mentioned it a couple of times when I'd met with him before, because like I knew Jean-Claude's, I went to school with Jean-Claude's M. Like
Okay.
when we were kids, like middle school. And I mentioned that to Ron, to Tonight Show, and he said, "Oh, I work out with him in the mornings." And I like the first time he mentioned it, I was thinking like, "Oh, he plays basketball at a gym or something like that,"
Yeah.
And then it was the pandemic, and we were all cooped up at home, and I was looking for something to do because like I was noticing that the clothes I was wearing to the office weren't really fitting me real well anymore. And like, so I was on the prowl for something. I found some things like on the internet that had like a similar feel, but like, you can only get so engaged on the internet. And for someone who's not, super well known for being high discipline, that was even less likely. And then when you mentioned F3 to me once when we were talking during work, and I kind of just decided to go before my brain could convince me not to.
Oh.
And so I decided I was going to go that first Wednesday that I could make work, and to Paradise, and I was late,
Oh no.
if you recall,
Yeah.
because you were there. I was late and I missed the pack, and like I didn't know where you guys gone. I drove around the mall a time or two, like I kind of hunted, but it's Paradise. You're going somewhere far away.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really know what to do. I just hung out for like 20, 30 minutes. And then pretty soon you guys came back and I was like, hi. And then you were like, oh, hey, what's going on? And you guys let me join in at the like post thing, which I mean, obviously was not much of a workout for me today, but you guys named me. And I always had a suspicion. Now you tell me if I'm wrong or not, that you and Tonight Show kind of had Demogorgon on deck, knowing that I was into D&D before my first workout.
I think we did. Yeah. I don't remember. I know we were going that
It
route.
certainly felt like it because it came real quick, and I was here for it. I'm like, that's a good name. Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah. Heck yeah. It's a good name. So then your first post was at Paradise.
Yeah,
What was
I
the next
technically
one?
showed up late, but I still got a name, which was cool. And then I went to Future the next day, and like that's probably why I kept coming back.
Hmm.
I think it was probably Othello who ran it, I imagine, which what that probably was like. It's high energy and being giving hugs and everything. So like,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
then
awesome.
I was back. So
What were your thoughts on the workout? Because Othello puts together some pretty tough beatdowns.
yeah, he does. I remember like dragging ass and like I'm pretty sure we probably ran pretty far because I do remember early on, if it wasn't that first workout, it was one of the early ones where I was just like, we just kept getting farther and farther away from where I parked.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm looking at my watch and like, when are we going? When does
Yeah.
this shit end again?
Yeah.
You know?
That's awesome. So tell me about just before F3, maybe what's been your history or experience with fitness throughout your life? I mean, has it been something you've been like with sports and other exercise, or what's been your?
Yeah, it's basically just been tied to other activities or whatever, school, that kind of thing. So like in high school, I was on the football team until I got, many concussions, and so decided to maybe I shouldn't do football anymore. Um, and so went more the route of theater in high school, but then I had a little bit more fitness in college because my senior year in high school, in homeroom, they had announcements for if any boy wanting to try out for the football team, be here. Any girl wanting to try out for the volleyball team, be here at this time. Anybody wanting to try out to be a cheerleader, be in the gym at this time. And so we started joking in homeroom, oh, they didn't say any girl, it's I should try out. And so I dare you to try out. I'll give you $20 if you try out for cheerleading. And I said, you know what? You're going to give me $50 because I'm going to make it. And so I did.
Nice.
And then because I was a cheerleader in high school, when I went to the University of Iowa, that came up. And so the cheerleaders there were like, well, why don't you be a cheerleader here too? And so I did. And so like that was probably when I was in the best shape of my life. Cause like, I mean, we would do like a mile to 2 miles for a warm up. And then
Yeah.
we would go do 2 hours of practice throwing the girls up in the air, and then we'd do weight training and stuff like that. So I've never really like enjoyed the discipline of the workout. I'm a lazy man at heart. And so but like being a part of that kind of whipped me into shape, and since then it's probably been not much in the way of fitness.
Yeah. I have never heard that story. That is such a good story. That's awesome. So you were a cheerleader at Iowa for a couple years?
I was only there for a couple of years, but I was a cheerleader while I was there, and because
That's
I got to be Herky a couple of times. So
no way. That is so cool. And that's hard work because I mean, you're like literally throwing the
Mhm.
girl cheerleaders and then like catching them or like,
Yeah, and then actually there was a couple because like we would do pyramids and stuff too, and so like being a bigger guy, I was typically on the bottom, obviously. But there were like a couple of smaller guys that would have to be like a second level of the pyramid. There was one that we did that we called candlesticks, where like, how they throw the girl up and then she stands on the guy's shoulders.
yeah.
Well, I did that with a guy,
Oh
got him on
no.
my shoulders, and then someone did that with a girl in front of me with her on his shoulders, and then the dude on my shoulders would have her stand on his on top of me. So I had me, then guy on my shoulders, and then girl on his shoulders.
Oh my gosh, dude, I gotta Google this. I'm gonna look this up. Maybe we'll make this the picture for your episode. You and your, is it out there? Maybe.
There's a slim chance my mom might have some pictures.
That's so cool. Well, so okay, so that's your fitness story, right? So then you start F3 and we're like running and doing boot camp stuff. And I mean, how have things gone for you, or how do you feel like
I
fitness
mean,
is going?
it's been hilly. Like
Yeah.
I got a lot slimmer there for a little while, but then I was going like 5 days a week, and that's just not really sustainable with kids and
Yeah.
pushing 40 and stuff. So it's like I gotta listen to when my body gets creaky in the morning to
Yeah.
not always have to be out there. So I get like maybe 2 a week, 3 a week if I'm lucky. And so I'm up a little. I recognize that I need to work on diet next, but
Yeah. There you go.
that's the hard part.
Yeah. Have you done Queen service or been engaged in any of that stuff?
I'm like on the Slack channel, but I haven't really dove into it
Okay.
so much. I know I should, but
Yeah.
like,
Tell me, you made a comment about being a lazy man at heart. What do you mean by that?
oh, I'm a lazy man at heart. Given the opportunity to like just sit around and like hell take a nap, I'm here for that. I am I
Yeah.
like doing a thing. I like going places. Like I love camping and hiking and like, I really enjoy F3 now, but like, damn, sometimes just a nap is where it's at.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've got a nice covered porch on the front of my house, and I would say there's probably you drive by my house, there's a 50-50 chance you're going to see me sitting out on my porch,
Yeah.
just enjoying the weather. Like today is gorgeous. It was like 60 degrees and it's like rainy a little bit. I'm like, that's my jam right
That's a
there.
good nap day for sure. Yeah, a good day to sleep in.
Uh,
Well, so then tell me how that works though, because you're still willing to get up and go and get out in the gloom. So what is it that pulls you out of bed on those mornings?
I tell you what, a big factor in it is that it happened during the pandemic.
Oh, sure.
Because during the pandemic, like I have my kids half the time, and all of a sudden they didn't have school and they couldn't go to daycare, and like we don't live in the same house. Like, how do we navigate that? So, what we found worked for us in the early days of the pandemic, at least, were that whoever they stayed with that at night per our schedule is fine, but like during the day, if they were with me, I'd take them over to her house in the morning and they'd stay there till about lunchtime. And then at lunchtime, they'd come over to my house.
Nice.
And what that allowed us to do is like I could stack meetings in the mornings. So when I knew that the kids wouldn't be around, and I could still work in the afternoon and like be available for work,
Mm-hmm.
but not have to be fully present. And so like when we started doing that, there's also the pandemic. Like time had no meaning. So I started waking up at like 4 in the morning anyway, because it's
Yeah.
like if I woke up at 4 and started working, I could actually have my workday done by noon. And then
Yeah.
it wouldn't even matter if I was there. And as long as I was reachable, what's the difference there?
Yeah.
And so I was kind of already on, like working myself into that sleeping schedule for work convenience. And then, yeah, when I was like, well, that was part of my being able to get out there the first time was like, I don't need to convince myself to wake up that much because like I'm already doing it.
Yeah. You know, I love that. I appreciate your honesty, and I think I know one of the things I'm working on is trying to rest more, so I'm envious of of some of that, one of the things I remember when you and I talked, there was an online sort of community that you were looking at.
Yeah,
And one of the things, and I think you ended up still joining that,
I
right?
did because I had done it like right the week before. And there's a book here that I got that I've been meaning to like bring and like share. That's called The Strenuous Life.
Oh yeah.
It's based off of like that is like a quote from Teddy Roosevelt. And so it's all like this book is like it just sort of outlines the different because it's sort of like grown-up scouts.
So this online community, right, was sort of, and it was during the pandemic, so I think you saw a lot of this, right, sort of creating
Yeah.
online fellowship opportunities. But tell me about the second F piece within F3. I mean, if you showed up and Othello is the cue, right, you're going to get a glimpse of
Yeah.
fellowship, and but
It's like
how'd you get engaged in that side of things?
just I mean, I think it's probably the answer you hear the most is just like going to coffee,
Yeah.
you know, and the like first time, I don't think I was going at the beginning. Well, no, because my first one was Paradise that I showed up late to, and that had Q Source after.
Oh yeah.
So like I did the post thing and everything, got my name, but then I was there for Q Source. So that was kind of like my first impression, which
What
I
did you
don't
think of what did you think of Q Source that first day?
I mean, I thought it was cool. Like I didn't know what you guys were talking about or what you had read or anything, but um and at this point is pushing 3 years ago, I probably don't remember what the conversation was about.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking like, okay, well, it sounds like some of these guys are dealing with similar shit that I'm dealing with. And um like I feel like, most guys say, coffee is where it's at. Like I've always told new guys, coffee is why you come. The workout's the price of admission.
Yeah. I love that.
So I feel like having Q source kind of be a first impression isn't typical for most guys who come, because most guys probably come for the free workout and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I got to get going. I'll take off.
Yeah. Yep.
But then, when a guy comes to coffee and like has a decent conversation with a person, then they want to go have coffee again.
Yeah. How did you do you remember like the first so after Q source? I mean, was coffee just pretty much I
Well,
guess for
I
yeah.
think after Q source, yeah, I must have gone to coffee at Scooters
Yeah.
after Future the next day. And with Othello there, I'm sure we probably ended up talking about like art and theater because we're both into that.
Yeah.
Like when I couldn't do football and sports anymore in high school, that's what I did. And like that was kind of my thing. I did that again in college too when I came back and went to Dana
Yeah.
in the shows there. So that's always been something that's been big to me. And I'm sure we connected over that. And, Othello's a big personality. So,
Yeah.
I
Were,
mean,
were you expecting to run into any other theater guys in a men's workout group? I mean, were you thinking this is
I
gonna be a
mean,
bunch of
not
bro?
not really. No. And
Yeah.
then U-Haul came not long after I did, or right around when I did. And he's in the theater too. And so
Yeah.
we connected over that. And so like, yeah, I mean, it's not really what I expected. And it's like, that's what one thing that I really dig about this community is like, we're so like, just we have varied interests in all different kinds of things. Like, we all talk about how each different, like sub-region has its own feel.
Hmm.
Sarpy and there's West and East and the East side. And I don't know, it just everywhere somebody has a different vibe and I can connect with people over anything. Like with Othello and U-Haul, it's theater. With like Dollface, it's nerdy techie stuff.
Yeah.
And with Woody, it's over like tinkering and making stuff. And so it's like all these like weird disparate aspects of my personality that I can relate with different people across the packs.
Yeah. I love that. It's so cool because I hope every guy is leaning in enough to get that type of
Yeah.
experience, you
And
know?
then when you start to get to know the guys, and it usually comes from being at coffee, is you start to have the more real conversations. And so that's how you end up with groups like like what uh Doppler and Patton and Blades of Glory and Thor and all of those, all of us have built with the sort of D3 as we call it, that uh divorce dads and drinks and kind of thing. But drinks optional for those of
Yeah.
you who want to stay away from the drinks from now on. But yeah, I mean, there's always someone to connect with, someone to learn from.
Yeah. Have you been able to go to D3?
I haven't been as consistent in recent months, but like I'm trying to make a commitment, especially now that they're, you know, more consistently the last Wednesday of the month, and they're being places like DJs on 114th and Dodge. Like that's a lot more reasonable for me to get to at 5 o'clock in
Yeah.
the as compared to like some of those ones that are out on like 180th, and I'm like, traffic from Benson out to 180th. It's
Yeah. No way.
not not at that hour. No
Yeah.
thanks.
No way. Uh,
Yeah.
that's awesome. What's it been like to have that group of guys support you through your
I
experience?
mean, it's great because like I've been able to, particularly with like Doppler and Patton, been able to like vent to them when stuff's frustrating me with my kid's mom, and navigating that as I start to have a relationship outside of that, and dealing with her reaction to me changing. Like that's one thing that uh, has been a consistent theme I find since I joined F3 is that like when arguments happen with my kid's mom, it often comes around in a circle to, well, why couldn't you get better like this for me?
Mm.
And so it's nice to be able to have guys who have been through some of these kinds of conflicts and can see them through the benefit of hindsight. So like I look at it like I've got Patton and I've got Doppler as my like divorce coaches.
Hmm.
Patton's 20 years down the road. Doppler's 10 years down the road. I'm at 5 now.
Yeah.
So I'm like, when I'm losing my mind, I can't focus, can't think because I'm so pissed off about something that just happened. And it's probably just a text message that I got.
Yeah.
I'm just like steaming. I can shoot a message to Doppler and he'll be like, I get it, dude. Calm down. She's just trying to get to you. She's just flailing. She's, whatever. And it's great to have just that, like I said, their benefit of hindsight.
That's so cool. That seems to me like the main reason, right? Why we do this whole thing that we do is just to benefit from each other's experience. And so you're 5 years out, and I guess how are things going? Or I guess you mentioned that you changed. What do you think has changed since starting F3? Or maybe it's been a longer journey than that, but where do you see the growth?
I mean, plenty has changed. Like the fact that I'm working out at all, like, because I wasn't when I was married,
Hmm.
pretty much, like, at all. The extent of my working out might have been like climbing the stairs to my attic office that I had at the time, maybe playing Switch or something like that, swinging my arms around. Uh, but yeah, like, I mean, I didn't really do much, and I can admit to that. And but on top of just the fitness, like I have like stood up for myself in ways that I never would have before,
Mm.
and been able to like. I mean, I'm still working on enforcing boundaries. That's like where I struggle the most.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh, boundaries are hard.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think is it? Because when I see you just, and I haven't known you, just a little over 3 years, but I feel like your confidence, um, like a light in your eyes almost of like, you know what you're doing, you know what you're saying, and you're confident in the direction you're going with your life, I think is what I see. But do you feel that? I don't know.
I think it's funny that you say that because, like, my big thing that I struggle with the most is absolutely imposter syndrome.
Hmm.
Like, um, yeah, I kind of, it probably comes from, having in reverse order at this point, I guess, getting a divorce and also like going through like I can't remember now 2 or 3 layoffs,
Hmm.
like pretty long period of not having a job before I was here and or before I was at Nebraska Medicine. I mean that sort of beat up my confidence quite a bit.
Yeah.
What and I mean, it's just, yeah, it's imposter syndrome all the way. There's kind of like that feeling in the back of my mind where it's like, okay, when things are going well, which like for the most part, like I feel like things are feeling pretty okay most of the time. Um, I feel like I'm kind of like always waiting for like when's the other shoe drop? What's
Yeah.
gonna go wrong? because that's just the way it's always gone. Like,
Yeah.
I have found in my past that when I feel secure is when I get slapped.
Hmm.
And so I tend to feel like, you know, any moment someone will like figure out that I have no business being here.
Yeah. How, is that just even go back to childhood? You feel like is that just a lifelong sort of thing where you've almost gotten so used to being down that being up is just
I mean,
normal?
maybe
Yeah.
like I kind of, yeah, I mean, I feel like, you know, whenever I have like achieved something, it's always just sort of felt accidental,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
like like that's that, even like things I did in high school, like I did art and stuff in high school, and I like won awards for some of the things that I created and painted and whatnot. And I've had a piece hang in the Joslin for like a student exhibit and
Nice.
stuff like that. But it's like that all still just feels accidental to me. It doesn't feel like I was just drawing because I like to draw. I like to make a thing. I feel really good after I've done something and created something. And I mean, that's probably like where I get the most of my dopamine. But like when I excel at work, or like I find myself in a position like kind of more elevated than I've been before. Not that I like lead people, but I lead a process.
Hmm.
Sometimes I feel like, people are just like, he doesn't really know what the hell he's doing.
Yeah.
And on some level, like working for the hospital and having zero healthcare background for a lot of what we do, I really don't have any idea what's going on for some of the stuff because it's just outside my education.
Yeah.
But what I can do, and that's kind of like all I do, is just focus on what I can have some sort of impact on.
Yeah.
What I what can I control? Well, I can do this, this, and this. And I mean, I think what makes me I was thinking about answers for the, leading up to this, what I was going to say about things. And I mentioned earlier that like I'm a lazy man at heart. And I feel like part of the reason I'm excelling at my current job is because I spend most of my time thinking about ways to make other people's jobs go more smoothly.
Hmm.
Like, and it's kind of like that old, that old adage, like if you want to get something done, give it to a lazy man and he'll find a
Yeah.
better way to do
Yeah. 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 No, I love that. What, and thank you so much for just sharing your honesty of where you're at. And, I think we all struggle. I know I certainly do with just identity and sort of, it can be easy to find your identity in sort of this, work success or achievement or, but I feel like I hear you saying you have just this long history of like being creative and innovative, liking to make and build things, but still sort of some of the like at times feeling like I don't know if I'm deserving of this. I guess does that in any way for you connect to this third F piece? I mean, is there an element of maybe a higher power or faith or some other belief system that you've used to kind of make sense of it all, or how do you put the pieces together? Or what's been your third F experience, I guess?
My third F experience, I think, I don't know, might be more unique than most because frankly, like when you told me about F3, I don't have a great relationship with faith throughout my
Hmm.
life, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. And when you told me about it, like that was the part that made me the most hesitant.
Yeah.
Not the getting up in the morning, not the running, even though I hadn't run since like college. And I'm like, he said, oh, we're not running that far, which is an outright lie if you got me to compare, by the way.
Sorry, that was a lie. I think I did that to khakis too. I don't know.
Anyways,
Yeah.
um, that didn't scare me. Like I knew I'd be the back of the pack, but you said that they don't leave anyone behind, which is true. And I'm still like often the six, but I'm not always the six anymore. And so like that didn't scare me off. The faith thing made me apprehensive
Oh.
because like I mean I did, youth groups and stuff in high school and had bad experiences with people I don't know, being like rigid in their understanding of faith. And like I've always, I mean, to me, I think it, might piss some people off, but I think it's kind of arrogant to even claim to understand what a higher power could, would, or does want from us. If
Mm.
there is a higher power, it's clearly beyond our understanding. So to even claim what you should what it's after is just I
Mm.
think it's the height of arrogance to me. I My journey with faith through F3, I think, has been more about like in the Free to Lead book, it talks about it not being a religious faith, but being a belief in something outside oneself.
Hmm.
And so to me, I kind of took that literally. And like, obviously, I believe in something outside of myself because there's all these people around me,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah.
that's outside of myself. And so I found that I started growing more because, like, I remember when I started, or probably a couple of years ago, maybe a year into my being a part of F3, um, I was just dealing with frustrations with my ex and my trying to live my life without being like managed by that relationship or like held down by that relationship anymore. And I was struggling
Mm.
and I was pissed. I was still coming to F3 every day and that was good. I was getting in shape. I was feeling better physically, but like I was just mad and pissed off about my situation and how it seemed like nothing was changing with regard to that. And um, a good friend of mine from high school, her name's Katie, messaged me and said, because it was still, kind of COVID-y, it was like on the tail end, or like getting to be more managed, but I don't think the vaccines were out yet or anything like that. But she said, "Hey, would you mind helping out um, for a party to serve food to help prevent, you know, spread or like wear gloves and a mask and serve so like not everybody's hands in the buffet." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, sure. For what?" She's like, "Well, and my mom passed away in January." And I'm
Mm.
like, ah. And like I was like, "So yeah, I'll be there," because this was a girl who I was in all like the theater shows with. And when we did Les Mis, she was like the Cosette to my Valjean. She was like the daughter or whatever. And
Mm.
so like we were close. We did all the shows together. And so like her mom was always there. And like to the point where like I just called her mom,
Hmm.
like most of the theater kids did. And so I said, yes, of course I'll be there. She told me when it was, and I like took the kids to my parents' house for the day and I just made myself available for the whole day, despite like everything else that was going on. And like there was a lightness
Mm.
to my feelings that day. I was able to put down what was troubling me and be there for someone that I hadn't even seen in a long time. And but it was good. And like frankly, it was a big part of changing my situation with my relationship at the time too, because like uh that was where I like reconnect or where I connected with my current girlfriend because it's Katie's sister
Mm.
who I never really like got to know in high school, despite the fact that we both went to the same school. We just like her sister and she like we just all ran in different circles and like my being there sort of like just to be there for them, knowing what they were going through, like just kind of opened up new doors, you know?
Wow. And that happened during the pandemic, sort of also in the middle of your separation, or maybe a year.
Years, couple
Yeah.
years
So
after. Yeah.
lots going on. And you think it was just that sort of realizing how short life is, or maybe just sort of somebody else's needs become coming in front of yours and
I,
sort of realizing your
I mean, I call it that one for sure. Like it was like I was so like just dwelling on what was bothering me.
yeah,
And yeah, I think on like some measure, it's like, like there are other people with bigger problems.
yeah,
I'm pissed off because I'm not getting my way right now,
yeah,
or I'm not, you know, I'm lonely, whatever it may be. It's like it was just different to be able to set aside my shit, just not worry about it for a day, and then just start to like be there for the people that were around me. And like, like I said, I hadn't talked to most of like a lot of people from school or anything like that in years. So it's like now that I'm, not in my married relationship and there's not really like those connections anymore, it's like, well, what other connections do I have? I've got
wow,
F3, but like, yeah, given the
yeah.
opportunity, I jumped at it.
That's awesome. I like that example of just like sometimes the best way to forget about what I think is wrong in my life is to help serve other people, just completely take the focus off yourself. I love that. I'm also curious too, want to go back because I do think I appreciate you sharing your perspective on faith and just, even the concept of a higher power. But I want to ask you a question about our workouts then in F3 Omaha. I mean, how are we doing at being open to other men that might have your similar beliefs? Are we
I mean,
leaning one way or another? Have you felt like you're still, I
I
mean,
don't,
you're
I
still coming
haven't,
out, so
yeah, I still come out. I haven't felt uncomfortable in any ways. There's
good.
definitely dudes that are more churchy than others.
Hmm.
And I mean, I would probably count you among them.
Yeah.
I'm sure you would probably too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's not like oppressively so,
Yeah.
which like I've been to places where, been in situations where it's oppressively churchy.
Hmm.
But then like at the same time, like we've got people of other faiths that are in the packs.
Yeah.
And um there's been like appreciation and um like full on acceptance that like whenever I lead a queue, I don't say a Christian prayer or a traditional prayer. I found when I was reading this book called The Book of Joy, they talk about, there's obviously it's a book about the Dalai Lama and the Archbishop. And so there's a lot about Buddhism in it. And there's this
Hmm.
great prayer, Buddhist prayer that like I'm like, you know what? That's mine from now on. And so that's what I say when I queue. So and there's like I've had, guys who come up to me and they're like, wow, that reminds me a lot of such and such prayer that we say where I go.
Yeah.
It sounds like this. And it's like, cool.
That's
Right on.
awesome. I love that. That's fantastic. And I appreciate you doing that because I think somebody else, I forget who it was that we had interviewed. Maybe it was Slick, but somebody else we were talking about that. Like the only way for this to feel not so Christian is to keep EHing guys that are not Christian and then encouraging them to share their whatever they believe, you know. So
Exactly. And that's kind of the way that I've felt about it is like if we want to make this feel not Christian, like I'm not going to say a Christian prayer. I'm
yeah,
gonna introduce these guys who've maybe never heard a Buddhist prayer before, but then realize that it has all the same values in it.
yeah.
So
And the prayer at the end, is that bother you at all, or
not really, because I mean,
is what it is?
it is what it is.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, tell me, I want to talk a little bit about leadership. So I remember your VQ being awesome, and so I want to hear about that, and then also want to hear your journey taking over the flag and then hand it off to Stitches. But start with your VQ. How did that go? And maybe
Yeah.
tell guys that weren't there what they missed out on.
Well, so for my VQ, I did it at Future. It made sense to me because that was my first full workout.
Yeah,
And it's like really like it's what kept me coming back because like Othello's crazy ass and just being so high energy and everything. And there's just so much room for activities at Future.
yeah,
And so I decided to, when I was gearing up to do a VQ, everybody said, just don't worry about it too much. Come up with some moves and then talk about your name, how you got it, and why, and what brings you out to F3. And so, like, I decided to lean really hard into my name. And, like, I went for the D&D Demogorgon rather than the Stranger Things one. And so, like, I spent time researching the lore and I, like, wrote out, like, blurbs about the Demogorgon is the prince of all demons, and he is the lord of chaos, and he's the prince of demons because he's just the baddest MF there is, and none of the rest of them see him. And I even so I was like, okay, and I gave that little introduction. We were off in the Rose Garden doing a warm-arama, and then I decided that, I got to at least mention Stranger Things because I'm sure that's where you and Tonight Show got the name originally.
yeah,
And we've got that beautiful wall right there. So we had to spend some time in the Upside Down. And
yeah.
so, meanwhile, I had the Stranger Things music playing while we did some chicken peckers and some Australian mountain climbers and wall sits. And I mean, anyone who's been to one of my cues at Future in the past 3 years has basically done that.
Yeah.
That thing because I know for a fact that like Caruso has decided to not show up to a queue on a Thursday when I've been in charge, so because he knew we'd be upside down.
Yeah. Love it.
And then for the bulk of the thing, we went down to the landing at the bottom of the stairs where we had my 3D printed dice that I whipped up, and we did my tried and true emergency beatdown that I keep in my phone now of you roll the 20 to see how many of whatever the 12 tells us to do.
Yeah.
And if you roll a 1, you got to re-roll twice.
Heck yeah. It was so well done and really well thought out. I think that's what I love about guys doing their VQ.
Timing worked really well too. Like I was surprised at how perfectly it worked for like just being right at the right time for Omaha.
Yeah.
And to give it a little bit of a D&D feel, instead of cones, I used tiki torches.
Yeah. I remember that. That was awesome. I'm curious your thoughts on this because I think like some of what we're hoping, right, is by leading a workout and then eventually leading a site that you get some of your mojo back or your confidence back and realize like, oh, like these guys just showed up and listened to me and told me good job. And I don't know, was that your experience? I mean, did that help with some of your confidence?
Yeah, I mean, I do think it helps to like lead a workout and have guys show up, and like especially if you like I've led a couple of smoke shows in my few years that like I've had guys like be like, damn,
Yeah.
ones that I didn't really intend to be smoke shows. I just found out while doing it. It's like, oh damn, this is tougher than I expected it to be.
Mhm.
But yeah, like I mean, it is a boost to have the PAC's there to support you and like, appreciate and the fact that there's always going to be someone there. So like, I think when I decided I wanted to be a psych Q, I think it was, like I decided I wanted Futurama because it was just fun. And it's also being on a Thursday morning. I don't have my kids Wednesday night, so I can always be there on a Thursday morning.
Oh,
So like if there's any site that I could have done, that one just made the most sense.
mhm.
And I think when I started, I didn't realize that the site queues changed too.
Yeah.
It's like all of a sudden, like I showed up one day and they were, because this is, mind you, this is before I was like looking at Twitter and watching any of the stuff. Like people would be like, "Oh man, Plague's on the queue this morning." I'm like, "How do you know this? Like, what? Are you guys like texting me? Is there a group text I'm not on or something?"
Yeah.
And then one day, a fellow was giving it to mac and cheese, and I was like, "Oh, that changes too." I'm like, "Led in a rotating fashion." Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Since I just hadn't thought that deep into it yet. And so after that happened, I was just thinking about it for a couple of weeks. And then like, I mean, it was probably, and you have to ask him, it might have been a month after he got the flag. I went up to mac and cheese and I said, "Hey, I want your flag when you're done." And
Nice.
he said, "Okay." And so like that was like basically decided then. And like I would say that I was nervous going into it, because I wasn't sure I could do it because like I said, I'm a lazy man. And to hedge my bets to the best of my ability, one, the day we did the flag pass at coffee when there was like 30 dudes at coffee at Scooters, I made a list on my phone of the next 4 months of Thursdays, and I passed my phone around the circle for people to sign up for.
Nice.
So
Nice.
I had 3 months off of the bat filled. I'm like, okay, now I can go, a little more reasonably after that. And then to also like levy it in my favor, I decided, because Spacebar told me one day when he was Psych Q at Heavy Metal, he said, "I buy coffee for whoever queues that day." It's like, well, I don't drink coffee. I don't always get something when we go, so I don't want to do that. So I whipped up F3 coasters. Yeah,
There they are.
they are.
I got one. I got one.
Yeah.
It's
There's
nice.
there's two or three guys, I think. I think it's less than five that have the set of black and white.
Okay. Yeah,
And
it's awesome. And that's 3D printed, right?
3D printed. Yeah, I made that file from scratch, and after plenty of trial and error, got like consistent prints and got to the point where with my newer printers, I
Oh
was
yeah.
able to whip out three of them at a time.
Nice.
And with my newest one, I could probably pull off six at a time.
Heck yeah.
But since it's just black and white, what I would do is I would print a set with white on top. And then rather than switching the filament back, I would just start another set with the white on the bottom and the black on the top. And so
Nice.
like I could pump out like 12 or 15 of them in a day just while I was working, because like all I had to do was go down there and flip the color every few hours.
Heck yeah.
And yeah, I feel like it sort of served to have dudes ask me to queue because they wanted a coaster.
Yeah.
Exactly what I was aiming for.
Got me down there for sure. What and I just wanted to see it. So curious what do you think you learned, I guess if anything, from being a site Q, or what'd you gain from that experience?
Um, I mean, consistency for one,
Yeah.
because you gotta be there every
Hmm.
week. I think I missed two over the course of my year, and I think both of them were just straight up that my Jetta wouldn't get through the snow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a couple of times, like, when I would make that be known, like someone would swing by, like Black Flag swung by and picked me up one time when I couldn't get through the snow. And so like I tried my best to be there all the time. I think another good lesson to take from being a site Q Uh, and from F3 in general is just like modify as necessary.
Mm.
Because like I know I didn't hit all the things on the head with being a site Q. Like I'm no good at Twitter. Like I did a couple of good ones at the beginning, but like there's just too much else going on in life that like, most of the times if
Yeah.
a guy shot out a pre-blast, sweet. I might not catch it to do a retweet or a like that day. And so I think a lesson there is, a little bit of self-forgiveness, like getting that you're not going to hit the target every time
Yeah,
with every arrow.
absolutely. I
So
think I think you're spot on, and I think the other thing that's awesome is that's totally okay, right? I think it's almost expected that every guy's going to do it a little bit differently, you
I
know?
know that there are weeks that I probably didn't get a backblast posted that someone sent me. And part of that is because like so many of the guys who would queue are or had been site queues, so would just do it themselves. So like I know that was one that I didn't really do.
Yeah.
Backblast I wasn't super consistent on.
Well, it had to be better than Mufasa, right? He was a psyche and didn't
Well,
do.
yeah, anything's better than Mufasa.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, I'm curious if I guess anything else that you want to share as we're just kind of wrapping up here, anything maybe we didn't cover that you would want guys to know or
Let me see if I wrote anything down. I mean, I think that the takeaway is to just like, I mean, when I describe F3 to people, I talk about that, F3 is the coffee and, the workout is the price of admission. Like
yeah,
that's the way I like to think about it. Like, I mean, and we'll joke about it being a cult, and it probably is.
yeah,
It definitely is by the definition. Like when you go to Webster's, like it fits.
yeah. You don't know till the last day though, is the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah. But like there's worse cults to be a part of.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
like, I haven't been given any Kool-Aid, so I
Yeah,
think I think we're doing okay.
yeah. Where do you need encouragement if we see out there, or if we were to shoot you a text, what would be a place we could encourage you in?
I mean, like I said, I mean, I'm always kind of struggling with that imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I wonder if I can find this thing quickly. I found one image once that I thought like reframed imposter syndrome in a really great way. Let me see if I can find this real quick.
Well, some of it too from Freed to Lead, the sad clown, right, of Tony
Yeah.
Soprano, and just the idea of feeling like you gotta be different on the outside than you feel on the inside, you know. Um,
Exactly. Um,
and that's something that I think I don't know that that ever goes away for us, right? I mean, I think it comes and goes, and certain seasons we keep it at bay a little bit better, and but yeah,
mhm. So like I saved this image. This is like a tweet or something from somebody that I just thought was brilliant because it flips imposter syndrome on its head a little bit. And it just makes me laugh. And sometimes when I'm stuck in like circular thinking about everything that's wrong,
Hmm.
sometimes you just need to get like knocked out of that cycle. And
Yeah,
laughter is one way of doing that. So let me read this, it's not long.
yeah,
My life has been so much better ever since I traded my imposter syndrome to brilliant conman syndrome. Do I deserve anything in life? Hell no. Will I grasp at it anyway? Hell yes. My art has never been worth a damn. But watch me bullshit my way into art school. I'm a horrid goblin, but watch me make these people like me. Am I qualified to do this task? Well, I sure have the certificates that say I am. And how did I get those? Who knows? Not me. I'm so good at cheating, I don't even have to break a single rule to do it. I'm brilliant, fast, and absolutely drunk with power.
what's that called?
Brilliant con man syndrome.
Brilliant con man syndrome. I love it. That's awesome, man. I appreciate you sharing that. I think a lot of guys can identify with just that feeling, right? Of
Mhm.
You know, not always feeling like you can show how you feel on the outside, or showing how you feel on the inside on the outside, you know. But I appreciate you, brother. This has been really good. Really like just hearing your story, and
For sure.
yeah,
If
definitely.
people want to know other like more famous figures that have imposter syndrome, I watch Adam Savage, his YouTube channel a lot. He's you might remember him from Mythbusters. He was the
Yeah,
goofy one.
yeah,
Um, he talks about it all the time.
yeah.
Yeah,
I love it. That's a good resource for guys that are listening. And you know, I think when guys see you out there, or if they have your uh, phone number, they can shoot you a
yeah,
text and just
yeah, for
remind
sure.
you. We appreciate you for who you are on the day that you show up and when we get to be next to you. So
Thanks for
appreciate
having
you.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's do a little name-a-rama here. I'll start.
right on.
Brandon Flair, 37, The Plague.
Chase Tito, 39, Demogorgon.
Demogorgon. Whoa. See, and it's tough if we're next to each other and I've started doing this like scream and you do the it's like a reverse scream, you
Yeah,
know?
it's like an inward vocal fry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that the technical
It's
name
like
of
yes, that's what it's called. It's
it?
if you listen to the Tenacious D song Inward Singing, that's basically what I'm doing.
That's awesome. Hey, this has been good, man. Have a good rest of your day.
So yeah.
Later, brother.